She was always laughing. Her laugh was electrifying.
Single mother of 3, Janina Jefferson, a larger-than-life personality from Big Stone Gap.
Janina would tell you the truth no matter what. If you didn't like it, well, that's just too bad. She shot from the hip. She didn't play games. She'd tell you she loved you at the end of it.
The 38-year-old was a jack of all trades, working at the water treatment plant in Appalachia, Virginia.
This was a job that she had wanted for a long time.
And there was her creative side, painting store windows.
I love art. I always have.
And operating a glass design business. It all provided a good life for her 2 sons and daughter.
Everything that she did was centered around those children.
Then Janina met Eric Jones.
I remember her being really excited and telling me that she had something going on. And I begged her to tell me what it was. And she said, no, I'll tell you if it works out.
Jones came from one of the town's well-known and respected families.
His mom is a wonderful woman, very sincere, a godly woman.
Before long, Janina and Eric were head over heels.
They were always laughing and cutting up, and the way they looked at each other, Janina really loved him, and I really feel like he loved her. He was so caring toward her and so sweet.
And Eric was going to be the new man of the house after their lavish wedding.
Oh my gosh, it was packed. Who wasn't at the wedding? It was absolutely beautiful.
But just 3 years later, the marriage was imploding, and Janina's seemingly perfect life hit a tragic ending. Thanksgiving weekend at the water treatment plant. Around 2 a.m., police are called in to do a welfare check on Janina, who was working the late shift that night. Investigators arrive to a shocking scene. Janina is lying on the cold gravel driveway, murdered.
She was shot multiple times.
With no video surveillance at the water treatment plant, cops start at square one.
Everyone's a suspect, but we went where the evidence led us to, and that led us back to Eric.
Eric Jones, her ex-husband. But could it be he was the son of a pastor, a second father to Janina's 3 kids? Now he faced serious questions.
I can place him in the area prior to the murder and also after the murder.
There is some video of him at a local convenience store. It shows Eric Jones walk in, get a 6-pack of beer out of the cooler, another small item, and pay for it, and then leave the store.
Cops soon discover Eric Jones was a wolf in sheep's clothing with a rap sheet a mile long, something Janina had learned too.
She told me the story, but she also told me things are different now. Let's give him a chance. You got to give him a chance. And I thought, okay, if you're going to, so am I.
But Eric's history of crimes was deadly serious.
Attempted murder for hire. He was trying to kill a mother and her 2 children.
The intended target, Karen Martin, a woman he was hired to murder.
He was friends with my cousins, and I hung around him.
Karen says one night she and her 2 kids woke to an inferno.
I called 911 and told them, I said, my house is on fire.
Wise County Sheriff investigator Charles Curry was one of the first on the scene.
We made entry through the front door. We could hear screams in the back. Myself and this other officer, we made our way to the back bedroom, and that's where we found all 3 occupants. When you have kids involved, you have kids of your own, you can relate. Some things you just don't shake off.
Investigators smell gasoline inside the home and find spent matches outside on Karen's car, which had also been doused with accelerant.
It was determined that there was 2 individuals who were paid with crack cocaine to burn that residence with those 3 people in it. Eric Jones was one of the suspects involved. Eric was not arrested immediately because he went on the run.
2 months later, Eric Jones's luck came to a screeching halt when he was pulled over on a traffic violation in Texas, some 1,300 miles away. Wise County Assistant Sheriff Grant Kilgore spent 4 days in a car with Eric, transporting him back to Virginia.
He said very little. He slept most of the time. He seemed very unconcerned about the charges he was facing.
Eric Jones was indicted on 7 felony charges, including 3 counts of attempted capital murder for hire. He eventually pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. He served 5.
His mother had told me that he was sorry for what he did, but he never personally told me. It's something that I'll never forget.
Janina looked past Eric's criminal history. She loved him and believed he changed in the 15 years since he'd committed that violent crime.
Like if you had to write down things and check them off about somebody being reformed or whatever, he fits that. He did a lot of things for the community, a lot of things at church.
But 2 years after they met, the cracks in the foundation appeared. April says it started at a 4th of July party.
She said that Eric had shot a gun off at the block party, and he wasn't supposed to have a gun, so she was really upset about it. And then the next thing I know, she's crying every day and saying, "All right, that's it. I can't do it anymore."
Court records suggest Janina was stuck in a terribly violent domestic situation. She finally filed for divorce, and the day it was finalized,
She told me that. And he came to the water plant, and she said things just got out of hand, and that she felt like she needed to get a restraining order.
Eric Jones was arrested for strangulation and trespassing, but a judge let him out on bail.
She said, I'm really scared. I said to her, "Janina, don't worry. It's going to be okay."
Tragically, nothing would be okay. Now, Janina's dead, and Eric Jones once again had completely disappeared. Eric Jones is on the run, fleeing Appalachia, Virginia,
He's a monster in my eyes.
and hiding out after allegedly gunning down his ex-wife, Janina Jefferson. The heinous crime occurred outside her job at the water treatment plant.
We have evidence, we feel is overwhelming evidence against Eric.
At first, cops searched the secluded areas surrounding the water plant.
We did ground searches, vehicle searches, then we actually brought in choppers on 3 different occasions, and then a specially equipped airplane that has some of the most sensitive photography available. Flew all those areas that we possibly could with that device. There was no indication that Eric was in any of those areas, whether it was a body or there hiding out in a cabin or tent.
There's no sign of the wanted man anywhere, and shockingly, police would never find Eric Jones. Now, with the trail completely cold, the U.S. Marshals Service has joined the search 8 years after the murder, telling True Crime News,
"We're looking for justice for Janina's family. We're looking to close the loop on a community that was really affected by this, and I hope it gets harder for him to stay on the run."
Investigators say after all this time, they need the public's help. While Jones's physical appearance has likely changed, they believe he's still probably the same old Eric.
He might look a little different at this point. Maybe he's grown in facial hair. Maybe he grew his hair out. Some of the things that he does love are the Dallas Cowboys. He loves fireworks. He actually watches fireworks on YouTube. And he did like women. He had a lot of different girlfriends at the time.
Jones left Janina's eldest son, Trey, and his siblings to pick up the heartbreaking pieces.
I don't know. I do have closure. I don't let it eat at me every day, just because I know that she's in a better place. I don't want to say that I'm looking forward to being there, but I just knowing that my mom's watching me, maybe not necessarily from the heavens, maybe she's in a waiting room. I don't know if she's watching me.
Janina's friend April will never lose the shock that her friend is gone.
Sometimes it's just hard to breathe. This really happened.
She's haunted by the advice she gave her.
Telling her, "Hey, don't worry, it's going to be okay." And gosh, that's the hardest thing for me every day. I think, why did I say that to her? Why did I say it was going to be okay? Because obviously it wasn't okay.
U.S. Marshals are hoping a reward will help them finally catch Janina Jefferson's husband and alleged killer.
We have a $15,000 reward out for Eric Jones. Really important that we get that out there. We don't want him doing this again to anybody else.